The RV market is crumbling, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. Iconic names like Jayco, Airstream, and Coachmen, brands that once symbolized adventure, are now hemorrhaging money. Repossessions are soaring, and potential buyers are disappearing. The boom that fueled all the excitement in 2021, it's gone. But here's the most alarming part. By 2026, some of these companies might not even be around anymore. If they collapse, everything you thought was safe, your warranty, resale value, and even your dream RV, could vanish with them. This is the industry's dirty secret, the story they hope stays hidden. Let's take a deep dive into the 9 RV brands that could be gone by 2026 and what this means for the future. First up, Jayco. Once a beloved family brand, it's now struggling to stay afloat. Drive past a Jayco lot today, and you can see the decline. Rows of unused, unsold rigs covered in dust. The once vibrant sales lot now feels like a graveyard. Those glossy, limited-time markdown signs. The reality is much grimmer. Jayco, known for affordable family adventures, has silently priced itself out of its own market. Back in 2021, their mid-range J-Flight trailers sold like hotcakes for around $36,000. Now, the demand is dwindling. By late 2025, that same Jayco unit, once priced around $36,000, now sits at a staggering $51,000, an increase of nearly $15,000. Meanwhile, average household savings are shrinking and loan rates are climbing toward 8%. Suddenly, the math doesn't add up. Dealers are feeling the pressure, with sales volume dropping by 42% year over year. It's visible in the rows of unsold inventory, rigs that never leave the lot. A leaked memo from the Middlebury plant, dated August 2025, sheds light on the crisis. Production has been temporarily paused on select towables, as unsold inventory now exceeds 2,300 units. These rigs are already built, sitting idle, waiting for buyers who no longer qualify for loans. The used market isn't faring any better. 2023 Jayco models are being sold at auction for just 2/3 of their original value. Not just depreciation, but a complete surrender of worth. So what went wrong? Jayco, in pursuit of higher margins, shifted its focus toward luxury features, touchscreen panels, multi-zone lighting, and high-end imported fittings. These upgrades look impressive in brochures, but have inflated sticker prices and added significant repair costs. The sturdy, reliable wood-frame models families once trusted became expensive, tech-heavy products that their own customers could no longer afford. The fallout is undeniable. Dealers are still burdened with floor plan financing on every unsold unit. This means mounting interest charges that only drive the need for fire sale discounts, further eroding the value of these rigs. One dealer in Elkhart told us plainly, "If the manufacturer doesn't cut production again by winter, half of us won't make it to spring." What does all this mean for anyone holding on to a Jayco today? Prepare for trade-in offers to plummet by 10 to 15% before next summer. The resale window is rapidly closing, and with a tightening credit cycle, there's no room for overbuilt campers. The market simply has no appetite for them anymore. What many fail to realize is that Jacob's stumble is just the beginning. It's the first sign of a much larger upheaval shaking the RV industry to its core. When a family favorite falters, the ripple effects are felt across the entire sector. Suddenly, every brand is forced to question its own stability. The next brand to face the heat, Coachmen. Once a staple in the industry, it's now a sinking ship that dealers are abandoning. Take a walk through any small-town dealership this fall, and you can spot the Coachmen section from a mile away. The flags are worn out, the price boards are scrawled by hand, and salespeople can't bear to make eye contact. What was once a reliable mid-tier brand is now a liability that dealers can't unload, and corporate seems unwilling to do anything about it. Just 3 years ago, Coachmen's Catalina and Freedom Express lines were the lifeblood of showrooms, moving nearly 35,000 units nationwide. This summer, that number dropped below 19,000, a staggering decline of almost half. To make matters worse, warranty claims shot up by 62% during the same period. A leaked communication from Forest River's internal support desk, dated April 20th, 2025, adds fuel to the fire. It reveals temporary suspension of parts reimbursement pending audit of dealer claims. In plain English, dealers are waiting weeks, sometimes even months, to get reimbursed for repairs on products that should never have left the factory. Customers have been hit with electrical failures, wall issues, and leaking roofs, turning service lines into a parade of frustration. The real issue, however, lies beneath the surface. Coachmen's pandemic-era production boom was built on shaky foundations, temporary labor, rushed timelines, and supply chain costs that spiked by 40%. In the scramble to meet demand, corners were cut. Foam insulation replaced heavier, more durable materials, and wiring looms were rerouted by contractors working against the clock. The result? Cheaper builds sporting the same once reliable Coachman badge. Now those shortcuts are finally taking their toll. From Indiana to Texas, dealers are walking away from new Coachman allocations altogether. One dealer in Fort Wayne was blunt about it. Every Coachman I take in costs me twice, once to floor it, once to fix it. He wasn't exaggerating. At current rates, the carrying cost of unsold inventory is over $300 per unit per month. Multiply that by 100 rigs sitting unsold on the lot, and it's easy to see why even loyal dealers are cutting ties. If you're holding on to a 2023 or 2024 Coachman, brace yourself. Resale values have already plummeted 25% below book value. Private listings are now undercutting trade-in quotes by thousands of dollars. The market is showing a clear message. Confidence is gone, and confidence, once lost, is nearly impossible to regain. While Coachman signals the collapse of the middle tier, the next chapter is much quieter. Airstream, once a legend, now losing its shine. In the showroom, Airstreams still seem like the luxury icons they were once known for. The polished aluminum glistens under the lights, reflecting the spotlight just as it always has. But step beyond the shiny exterior, and things start to unravel. What was once the embodiment of American freedom now sits unsold across dealership lots from coast to coast. The image remains pristine, but the numbers, they're sinking fast. Back in 2021, the average Airstream base camp sold within 8 weeks of arriving at the dealership. By the third quarter of 2025, that turnaround time has stretched to over 11 months. Inventory data from the Recreational Vehicle Industry Association paints a grim picture. Nearly 5,000 unclaimed units sitting idle in storage fields across the Midwest. These once iconic silver Airstreams, once symbols of luxury, are now little more than unpaid bills lined up in the rain. The reason behind this? Simple, brutal costs. That classic flying cloud, which once commanded a premium price of $87,000, now lists at nearly $127,000. Meanwhile, median household income has barely budged and loan rates hover around 8%. Even the most dedicated Airstream enthusiasts, who spent decades saving, are walking away before they even sign the papers. Dealers are cutting prices by 40% just to move the inventory, but each discount only chips away further at the brand's identity. Production numbers tell a similar story. Leaked reports from Jackson Center, Ohio, dated September 2025, show a 39% decline in output year over year. Skilled aluminum welders have been replaced by rotating crews, defect reports have doubled, and costs are now surpassing profits. The shine of Airstream has simply become too expensive. While Airstream leadership calls it a temporary correction, the market sees it as saturation. Used Airstreams, once holding gold-like value, have dropped by 27% since last summer. The truth is clear in every auction sheet. Aluminum may sparkle under showroom lights, but it can easily buckle under economic pressure. If Airstream's reflection represents the past, it's clear that past glory can no longer sustain its future. Next up, we see what happens when inflation crushes the foundation of affordability itself. Enter Gulfstream Coach, the budget brand now crushed under the weight of rising costs. There's something almost tragic about walking past a Gulfstream lot today. What was once a go-to choice for first-time owners now sits with price-reduced tags that are updated every month. The brand built its name on providing simple builds, fair pricing, and family weekends within reach. But inflation doesn't care about sentiment, and it's flattened one of the last truly affordable names in the RV game. Between 2020 and 2024, Gulfstream's average price jumped from $22,000 to $33,000, a 50% increase in just 4 years, with no corresponding rise in wages. Material costs were the first blow. Plywood, foam insulation, and steel frame assemblies soared by 44%, according to supplier data from Elkhart County. Even basic things like roof sealants doubled in cost. Gulfstream tried to absorb the shock, but eventually, the price hikes were passed along, and the entry-level buyer disappeared almost overnight. By late summer 2025, factory insiders confirmed that production had slowed to a crawl. A leaked payroll sheet revealed shifts were reduced from 3 to 1, and overtime was completely frozen. Dealers are now reporting unsold inventory sitting for over 90 days, with floor plan financing fees stacking up like unpaid rent. Every unsold unit racks up costs for interest, insurance, and storage, about $330 per month per unit. Multiply that by 100 unsold rigs, and the math becomes brutal. Customers are noticing the flaws too. Panel seams splitting, doors misaligned, wiring hanging loose. These aren't isolated issues, but signs of a company pushed past its limits. Used Gulfstream models have dropped over 30% in value since last winter. Lenders are pulling back, and the once simple promise of affordable camping is slipping into the past. Gulfstream's struggle highlights how inflation can destroy the very foundation of affordability. But the next story is even more sobering. A company so big that it couldn't dodge the impact. Thor Motor Coach, once an empire of its own, is now crumbling from within. Walk through any Indiana factory parking lot today, and the silence is deafening. Where the hum of engines once filled the air, now there's nothing but emptiness. Gates stand locked, trucks no longer lining up. This is Thor Motor Coach, an empire that once defined the modern American motorhome, now shrinking from the inside out. For over a decade, Thor Industries solidified its dominance by acquisition. Jayco, Integra, Keystone, and more were absorbed, creating a massive empire that controlled nearly 40% of North America's RV production. But all that growth came with a cost: $4 billion in debt. When sales began to slow, the empire couldn't hold up under its own weight. In Thor's fiscal third quarter of 2025, production was slashed by 48%. Official filings revealed a $312 million inventory overhang, and layoffs were announced in Elkhart and Wakarusa. The company claimed these cuts were temporary realignments, but drone footage tells a different story. Rows of half-finished Class A and Class C shells stretch across the lot, gathering dust, waiting for buyers that no longer exist. Dealers are whispering about the pressure to take on excess units just to clear factory space. One longtime retailer near St. Louis put it bluntly: "They ship them faster than I can move them, and the bank calls me before the first test drive." That's floor plan finance pressure. And it's a crack in Thor's foundation that's widening fast. Customer trust is evaporating. Complaints about slide-outs and roof leaks have doubled since 2023, while warranty delays stretch into months. Each postponed repair is a clear sign of cash restraints. Overtime is cut, stock rooms are empty, and patience is wearing thin. Thor's problem isn't just a faulty model. It's a broken system built on endless demand and cheap credit. Too big to bend, it's now struggling to stay upright. If Thor is the giant trying to hold itself together, the next brand shows what happens when even its strongest division starts to sink. Keystone RV, once the volume king, is running out of buyers in time. There was a time when the Keystone name stood for momentum. You'd pass any campground in America and see their Cougars, Springdales, and hideouts lined up like a moving billboard for middle-class adventure. Today, those same rigs are signs of oversupply. Keystone's empire was built on volume, but that volume is starting to break under its own weight. During the pandemic boom of 2021, Keystone produced over 130,000 units, the highest in its history. Fast forward 2 years, and the company's order sheet looks like a hangover report. For 2025, production is projected to drop to just 75,000 units, a staggering 40% decline. Drone footage from the Gaussian complex shows acres of unsold travel trailers parked bumper to bumper, so tightly packed that forklifts can barely navigate the rows. Auction data confirms what those images already suggest. A 2023 Keystone Cougar, once listed near $62,000, is now being sold at auction for a mere $33,500. The shift is unmistakable, and the signs of a market in freefall are clear. Dealers refer to it as reverse appreciation, but buyers see it as a red flag. Each price cut not only diminishes the brand's margins, but also threatens every retailer trying to weather the storm. The root cause: demand fatigue. The same consumers who rushed to buy during lockdowns are now drowning in maintenance bills, skyrocketing insurance premiums, and mounting loan payments. Secondhand inventory is flooding the market, and that surge is suffocating new sales. The model built on non-stop speed is now paying the price for excess. Resale values have plunged nearly 29% year over year. The truth is hitting hard for Keystone. When growth stalls, size can turn into a crippling liability. If Keystone's struggle is about overproduction and empty wallets, the next story digs even deeper: a luxury brand gasping for relevance as its loyal audience simply walks away. Shocked by these numbers? Hit subscribe before the next chapter drops. We're keeping track of which brands rise and which disappear next, and the data we're seeing could change everything you thought you knew. Fleetwood RV, once the pinnacle of luxury, is now on life support. Fleetwood used to define American road luxury. Their Bounder and Discovery models glided through campgrounds like small moving mansions, proof that craftsmanship and comfort could go hand in hand. But today, that prestige has faded, leaving behind a financial patient on the brink of collapse. Fleetwood's parent company reported a staggering 63% decline in revenue year over year. That's not a stumble, it's a full-on collapse. Once a bustling hub, the Decatur, Indiana facility that employed over 2,000 workers now runs on skeleton crews. Layoffs began quietly in January 2025, labeled as temporary, but by summer, they became permanent. Production has dropped to fewer than 5,000 units per year, the lowest output the company has seen in over 3 decades. The issue stretches far beyond just slow sales. Fleetwood's prices soared during the pandemic years. The Discovery LXE, which cost $270,000 in 2021, now carries a hefty price tag of $355,000. Meanwhile, the used market is hammering new owners. A 2024 Bounder with fewer than 10,000 miles recently sold at auction for just $178,000, barely half its original value. What was once a symbol of aspiration has now become a risk, a brand slowly fading under the weight of debt and disbelief. If Fleetwood is gasping for air, what does that mean for the company holding the oxygen tank? The next name on this list owns the heartbeat of half the industry, and that heartbeat is faltering fast. Enter Rev Group, the collapse that could pull the entire RV market down. Every market has its backbone, and in the American RV world, Rev Group has always been it. They build the frames, the engines, and the flagship coaches that carry half of the industry's prestige. Fleetwood, Holiday Rambler, Monaco, and American Coach. All of them flow through Rev's veins. But now, that system is starting to fail. If it goes down, it could take the entire RV market with it. The latest filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission paints a grim picture. The recreational vehicle division is buried under more than $1.1 billion in long-term debt. Revenue has plummeted by 48% in just 2 years, and operating losses are widening. Analysts are calling the company's debt-to-equity ratio beyond the red zone. In plain terms, lenders are nervous, and suppliers are on high alert, waiting for the first missed payment. Analysts are predicting a breakup or sell-off by late 2026, but potential buyers are hesitant to take on the debt and pension liabilities. What's unfolding here isn't a crash, it's a slow, deliberate collapse in real time. And yet, amid all this damage, one name still looms large, a company once considered too big to fail. The next chapter reveals what happens when even the RV industry's biggest titan begins to lose its grip. Forest River, the titan that may be too big to save. When a company the size of Forest River starts cutting production, it sends shockwaves through the entire American RV industry. This was the titan that built the backbone of the market, producing Class C motorhomes, travel trailers, fifth wheels, cargo haulers, and even pontoon boats. Under Berkshire Hathaway's ownership, Forest River seemed untouchable, but the numbers coming out of Elkhart tell a different story, one that feels more like a slow unraveling than the dominance it once enjoyed. An internal report leaked in late September 2025 shows a staggering 37% year-over-year drop in Class C output, along with layoffs at both the Elkhart and Gann facilities. The once mighty titan is showing cracks, and it may be too late to patch them up. Overtime has been frozen since June, and 2 subcontractors have pulled out due to unpaid invoices. In the same quarter, dealer defaults surged by 29%, forcing Forest River to absorb unsold inventory across multiple divisions, inventory that's been piling up for decades. The strategy once seemed foolproof: build more, sell more, repeat. It worked as long as credit was cheap and families upgraded their rigs every few years. But now, the pipeline is clogged. Dealers are sitting on nearly 11,000 unsold units nationwide, and the floor plan financing interest on that stockpile adds up to tens of millions each month. Insiders reveal that leadership is quietly plotting consolidation, merging smaller sub-brands like Vibe, Cherokee, and Sabre into the core product lines, just to make it through the next fiscal year. What was once an advantage of scale has become a burden. Hundreds of models, dozens of factories, and over 12,000 employees are now dragging down a shrinking market. Forest River, Once the powerhouse of the RV industry now looks too big to save. The RV collapse isn't a future event. It's already happening. If you own one of these rigs or plan to buy soon, what comes next could hit your wallet hard. Some brands may not make it to 2026, and the fallout is just beginning. What do you think? Is the RV industry done for, or can it recover? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this opened your eyes, hit like, share it with other RV owners, and subscribe.